Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content, and occasionally live theatre. I'm your host Ashley Hobley, and joining me today is Nicholas Pryor.
That's me.
And also Dylan Blight.
I'm also Dylan Blight.
Yep. Okay. We've got a stacked episode today. We're going to be talking about, of course, what's in our watch history. We're going to be recapping the 91st Academy Awards, a bunch of film news, and we're going to be... The movie that we ended up watching is the 4 Academy Award winning movie, Bohemian Rhapsody.
I believe that's correct.
That sounds about right. But Dylan, you were up, I guess, from your direction in Melbourne.
Yep. It's all up from my direction.
Almost everywhere. You got to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child before the official premiere.
Yeah, I know. Look how special I was.
Parts 1 and 2?
Yeah. That's right.
No, just
they
2.
Didn't even make me wait. Yeah, I skipped straight to 2. I was like, fuck it, let's go. So let's talk about old-fashioned theatre on today's episode of What Do You Want to Watch, I guess.
How was the editing?
Yeah, it was really good. It was edited quite well. It was edited better than Bohemian Rhapsody, so I hear. So that's that's my overall thing. It was... put into thing. I read the book when it came out, right? You know, they put out the screenplay as a book a couple of years ago whenever it first released in London, and they started the stage play. I read that. I thought it was fine. My biggest problem with it is that it's like the 8th story, I guess. It's the 8th story, but it's just kind of... It definitely just feels like it's a forced story. And it like if they made this into a movie, I don't think, and one of the reasons I don't think they really should is because it will just really feel like a cash grab sort of thing. But I think when you put it into perspective of maybe they're sitting there like, oh, I'd really like to do a Harry Potter play, but not actually turning one of the already produced stories into a play. So then they wanted to create JK and whoever else was involved and maybe helping her along with the idea behind the scenes, I guess. Maybe they're like, oh, I want to come up with something new, so we'll just create a story. And I think in that line where you're creating the story for a stage play, it makes sense that the story kind of feels forced because it is forced to create the story. Whereas if you're reading it in a book, it definitely feels really forced. And in a movie, because you've watched all the movies as well, it feels a lot more forced there. Everything that is about it is designed to be shown on the stage. And if you've read the stage play, there's so much that's not... Characters are missing. They're obviously not given any personality when you just read the script form. And that's one of the things that stood out to me. Like, slight spoilers in case you absolutely know nothing about this. One of the main characters is Draco Malfoy's son. And when I read the stage play, because I was just basing him on how I thought he would be given how Draco is, I was creating him as a bit of a dick and a cunt. You know, as I'm reading, like, this guy will obviously be a dick. However, when he's brought to get, when the person playing him is brought that character to life on stage, he's one of the funniest characters in the whole movie. He's really quite charming, and he's just like this. He's this really show. Sorry, yeah, it's a thing. I can't tell the difference anymore. He's like this really great character, and big separation between it. And that's one of the biggest things. It's like, you can read a screenplay, you can read a stage play and whatever, but it really is like the directing and what actors bring to these characters half the time that actually make them what they are, whereas the versions I was creating in my head were not bad, but didn't have the great direction and actors bringing them together. As a show, without going too much into the story, because I think if you are in Melbourne, because it'll be on for the next several years, I'd guess, at minimum, considering Melbourne's just covered in fucking promotion for this shit everywhere, up, down, train station, you come in everywhere, you walk in banners, the shit everywhere for this. They really want this to be a huge tourism thing, obviously. So if you're in Melbourne, I would highly suggest seeing it. I paid for some, not the highest price tickets, but like the ones down, so I could sit a bit closer. You would be okay sitting back and paying for the cheaper tickets, but I'm like, if I'm only going to see it once, I'd really like to be able to see what's happening and be able to see the like the actors' faces, I suppose, is the biggest thing. I want to be able to see their faces because a lot of time if you're sitting a lot further back for these things, it's like you can see the shapes of their bodies and you can tell what's happening story-wise, but you miss a lot of the smaller details, even costumes and whatever else, these sorts of things happening. But I would highly suggest seeing it because it is a really well put together show. It has several amazing, without being too corny, magical things that actually happen that they pull off. And there was a lot of them, but one of them, for example, one of them made me laugh because, without saying what it is, two people in the front row when it happened literally like leaped down their seats to look at the stage and try to figure out what the fuck just happened. Like they were looking for how the magic trick was pulled off. And I was just like, sit down, you fuckers. What are you doing? There was one part where there was, without going into what it is, there's something happening all around, like off the stage, like around above everyone in their seats and stuff. And that was really, really great to be so close to that. And there's several of these moments, but yeah, it is kind of corny, but at the same time, it was a really magical experience. And I feel like if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll really, really enjoy it. And if you just like stage plays, I guess you'll really, really enjoy it because it's really well put together, acted, music's great. I think it's great.
Is the cast Australian or the same one as the English one?
It's all new. And as far as I think, all the ones that I know were either Australian or New Zealand that I looked up. I don't know if there's American in there, but I know all the main ones are Australian or New Zealand actors.
Do they speak in Australian accents?
No.
Ah.
No, they're putting on accents, but it's that thing where you can tell they're kind of putting off if they have a deeper accent. Like the dude, I think the guy who plays Harry Potter is a Kiwi, and I was watching a video of him after where his accent was more prominent, so he definitely like tones it a bit, but he's not like putting on an American or British accent. It's kind of just that middle ground of not sounding as accenty as wherever you're from, I suppose.
Yeah.
That doesn't take you out of it. It's just kind of that middle ground. No one's trying to sound super British or anything. It's just middle ground accent. There's no accent.
Cool. What was the crowd like? Was it mostly people your sort of age, or is it skewing older? A big mix, yeah.
I would say majority would have been like, I guess, my age to 30-ish, I guess, which makes sense. That sort of bracket.
People
of
who grew up on
reading
it and have the money to actually spend.
Yeah, grow up and have the money. And then there was a fair few older people as well. Upwards of 50-ish to 60, I'd guess. I saw a few people like that. I think there was like 2 kids there, which I found really weird because, and I mean, they were probably like, they looked 10 or under. And to me, it's not really, because I'm like, it's very long. It's not as like eventful and as flashy, obviously, as a movie. It's a lot slower, obviously, than a movie screening. But then it is very long, and you have the intermission and you come back and then you have to go away for a couple hours. And then if you do it the way we did it, it's like you go away for a couple hours and then you come back for part 2 and then you sit down for an hour and a half and then you have a 20-minute intermission and you come back. It's a very long day of committing to watching the whole thing, I suppose. So for little kids, I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, so how long was it in total?
I think,
would you assume?
If we work it out, so the first part was like 2 hours 50 or 45 or something like that, and then you take out 20 minutes for an intermission, so it's like 2 hours 20 with 20 minutes intermission, and then it finishes, and then we had like 2 hours to go grab some tea, and because you can book them separate days, I believe, but like we did them the same
Back
day,
to
parts
back.
1 and 2,
Yep.
and then part 2 was like 2 hours 30 or something, like a little bit shorter, and then take 20 minutes out of that because that includes the intermission, so it's long. But basically we got there, it started at 2 and we didn't leave until 10:30ish or something at night. So it's a long day.
It is. That does sound like a long day. Would you recommend that, or do you think breaking it up would be good? Or
I would recommend doing it this way because honestly, I think having such a long break kind of killed some of the momentum. I feel like a longer intermission, like maybe an hour would be okay for the break, kind of go out, stretch your legs or whatever, and then theorize or whatever and get a little bit of suspense because obviously part 1 ends with this big thing happening and then it comes up to be continued in front of you, and then as you're leaving, there's all the LCD screens that are inside the auditorium there have changed to something that I can't say because it's a spoiler, but they really want to build up this whole like tension and piece that's happening around you because they're changing everything. The logos, they're all changed on your way out and stuff that's kind of built on what happens, and that's really cool. But then I think the 20-minute intermission in part 2 was the one where it's like, I don't really need this because at this stage I just want to see it through to the end. You know, that one felt the least necessary. The first intermission, sure. The break between parts 1 and 2, sure. That intermission in the middle of part 2, didn't really need it. I can't imagine having a full day off or several days and coming back and being like, and straight back into it, because they don't build it up. They're not like previously on, or they don't introduce it like they do the first part where it kind of builds in a lot, slower or whatever. It's just kind of whack you straight back into the action. So it's definitely done better back to back, I think, just to keep the mood going.
Cool. So I went and saw Stan and Ollie, the new biopic directed by John S. Baird. That is the biopic of Laurel and Hardy, the famous comedy duo from back in the 50s, I want to say. 50s, 40s, that sort of era. Played by Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly. I thought it's a very charming movie, but it's not amazing. Like, I mean, it's really interesting to watch and describe, but there's nothing really stand out or spectacular about it. They're both brilliant performances. John C. Reilly is amazing as Oliver Hardy. He has to wear some prosthetics and stuff to look a bit bigger than
he didn't really get that big, for sure.
No, yeah, it's all prosthetics and stuff. Yeah. So
his whole neck thing.
Yeah. One of the main things I took away is the comedy has changed a lot since that time period. They shoot this movie at the start of the film where they're just dancing, and then they show it in a film audience, and everybody thinks that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know so it tells the story of like they're years later towards the end of their career, they're going on a stage tour of the UK and sort of how they're interacting, and they're trying to get this last film made about Robin Hood and stuff. So yeah, really interesting. The two people who play their partners are really good. It's like contrasting. They obviously don't get along and that sort of thing. Yeah, and I thought it wrapped up well. So it's definitely worth checking out. I'd probably wait till it comes on video on demand or streaming services. Not something to rush out to see in the cinema unless you're really interested. The thing that I wanted to see as soon as I came out was a documentary about them, about Laura and Hardy. But yeah,
when did that come out? Recent one?
What, the movie?
The documentary, is that a
no,
recent one?
I want to find a documentary is what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you think it'll hold up against John C. Reilly's other recent movie?
What other recent movie?
Holmes and Watson.
Oh, I imagine this will be much better received. Has been much better received. Spoilers, but Holmes and Watson won the Razzie this year for worst film.
How prestigious.
Deservedly, I believe. Yeah. Me and Dylan, we both saw Alita Battle Angel. We are planning to do a full-on spoiler review discussion about it, but Dylan, do you want to just give us your non-spoilery thoughts?
It was better than I thought it was going to be, because I kind of went in expecting it to be, I don't know, crap, I guess, considering there was like not much good promotion or anything happening for it, and I think most of the trailers I'd seen was kind of meh overall.
Oh yeah, the trailers I saw looked absolute garbage. I had no interest in it.
Yeah, I really didn't particularly like anything I saw about it. The main intrigue I had for it was screenplay by James Cameron. I know for years and years and years he'd been trying to get it made, and at one stage he was trying to direct it
Avatar,
himself.
I believe.
Yeah, even before, like, ages apparently, because he'd been trying to get it made. Robert Rodriguez is directing it, so I'm like, I don't love old Rodriguez's movies, but I am a fan of Rodriguez. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll check it out. And as bad this, I can't remember exactly what my tweet is, but I was watching it and I was comparing it to Speed Racer. Even though I think Speed Racer is a bad movie.
It's a brilliant movie. Episode 3 of What Do You Want to Watch?
What it was. I think Speed Racer is a bad movie. I think Alita is a good movie, or an okay. Like, I'd probably give it like somewhere around a 6.5 or something, I guess, or around that if I had to chuck a score at it. But my comparison to Speed Racer is simply because out of all like the anime, manga adaptations that we've had recently, it's the only one that Alita knows what it is, and it just knows that from the outset, and then it just commit to that. And Speed Racer was very much the same, where it knew it was just trying to tell a very bombastic, silly cartoon story, and it wasn't trying to be anything much deeper than that. And Alita is much the same, where even though it could have gone on this very like Ghost in a Shell or Blade Runner, look at because it's to do with androids and all this sorts of stuff, so then you can get into like, what does it mean to be human and all this sort of stuff. It's like, it's not about that though. It's just a big sci-fi fuckfest with lots of decent or cool CGI, some interesting fights. The acting in it is actually decent for the most part, I thought. I can't remember what do you know what the girl's name is who plays Alita? Because I thought she was actually
Rosie Salazar?
Something
Rosalind
like that.
Salazar?
I thought she was actually pretty good, given she has to work with this character that obviously is being morphed into this big eye thing with CGI and stuff later, and the CGI body armor and whatever else she has involved. But I thought with what she had, she was quite good. Christoph Waltz is Christoph Waltz. He's just being himself again. Plays one-note characters roles where he's just himself most of the time these days. The worst person in it I found is like the worst thing about the movie in general I found was just the overall love romance stuff. I didn't really buy into that at all. But as a big sci-fi anime adaptation thing, I thought it was fine, and it was a decent loud time in the cinema, and it wasn't trying to be anything else. So and for a lot of times where people are like, oh Dylan, you don't like Transformers, well sometimes you can just enjoy movies for being action films and whatever, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, well, I thought Alita was fine. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Is it a big anime manga property? Because I'd never heard of it.
Not really. It's not a huge one like the ones you know about. Apparently there was an anime back in the 80s, but it was only like a couple of episodes. Like I don't think it's like
popular Western audience. I feel like it's popular Japanese audience.
The whole amalgamation of it just seems so strange to me. Of who's involved and getting made in general.
Yeah. Well, it is weird because
it is weird.
It is weird, but it exists, and I feel like it must have been just a passion project for how long Cameron was trying to get it done at this stage. It's a well-known thing that Cameron's basically the OG weeaboo of Hollywood. Like he was watching anime before it was cool, really. So,
yeah.
What do you think anyway, Ash?
The movie I instantly thought of after watching this film was Ready Player One. It reminded me of that. I think it sort of hits the same interest and critical response, and sort of that's the sort of spot where it sits. I think it feels incredibly long, but then it needs more. It needs more in it to make more sense. Like it felt like it had been edited down too much.
Well, I looked up after how many volumes of the manga they have adapted into that one movie, and apparently I can't remember exact, but it's basically like they've adapted 8 out of 10 volumes or something like that, and they squish in like the first 2 to 3 volumes in like 10 minutes. They're like you can tell this is a movie where they're like, because it's open for a sequel obviously, but at the same time they squeezed enough in that they know they probably won't get a sequel, so they squeezed as much in as they could while still leaving the chance
everything
for
in
a
it
sequel.
feels incredibly rushed. Like a lot of the relationships, a lot of the world building, everything. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully we can talk about that in a spoiler review because there's a lot to talk about that film. Nick, you checked out the new series on Stan starring Daniel Radcliffe, Australian Geraldine Viswanathan, and Steve Buscemi, Miracle Workers.
Yes.
What's the premise?
So God wants to blow up the Earth because he's sick of Earth, I guess, and these two angels, these two angels are trying to save it by they get into a bet with God and they have to perform this one impossible prayer to make God save the Earth in like 14 days or something like that. I mean, it's fine. I wouldn't say it's amazing. Yeah, so it's yeah, I don't know. It's just.
Is it just how many episodes you watched?
2. There's only 2 so far. I believe the third one comes out on Wednesday.
Do you feel like it's too early to tell?
I think it might be. Yeah, I think it's just gaining its feet. I mean, it has potential, but I don't know. It hasn't really enthralled me to begin with.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you enthralled by John Woo's Face Off that you watched recently?
No, that is an absolute garbage movie.
Why the fuck did you watch that?
I don't know. It was just on there, and I thought I had seen it before, but I guess I hadn't, and I just wanted to watch it. I mean, that is as a memeable movie as I could ever watch.
It is literally got thousands of memes to the point where the memes have become memes, and then there's memes based on the other memes, and now you don't even know that they're based off Face Off anymore.
Yeah. Like, I didn't realise how many memes had come from this, and it was oddly a lot more science fiction than I thought it was going to be as well. I mean, what can I say? It's a bad movie.
It's interesting to see John Travolta and Nicolas Cage's career trajectory since.
Both in the toilet.
I would say Nicolas Cage is the better of the two at this
Oh,
time.
yeah, I would agree, yeah. But he is at his worst in this. It is just
I
so...
don't know, have you seen Battle Earth?
Yes, I have.
Okay. That's a big fight between all those. Maybe we'll have to watch Gotti or Gady or whatever Ash calls it or whatever.
Goaty.
Oh, Gotti.
Gotti, that's it.
Gotti. Yeah, John Gotti.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but I think that's... This is entertaining bad. That just seems bad. And it goes for such a long time. Fucking hell. I thought it could have ended 10 times over by the time it actually got to the end. Yeah.
Speaking of bad, I noticed you've been adding on your Trakt every single week the latest season of My Kitchen Rules.
Yes.
What are your feelings on My Kitchen Rules? Do you have some favourites? Do you have some...
I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
So you're watching it because Stacey's watching it.
Correct.
But you're still like, I am watching it, so I'll track it.
100%.
Because you need those stats.
Anything I can track, I add in.
You need them numbers.
I do.
Dude.
And the thing is, she admits to me that she hates it too, but she
Why
just
the fuck
keeps
are you
on watching it.
Why are you watching it then?
I don't know. I'm just there when it's on.
But why is she watching it if she says she hates it?
No willpower, I guess.
Fucking hell. I'll tell you what, I hate that show. That's one of my biggest hates in life, that show.
It's bad.
Season 10 it is. It's still going strong.
10 years. It's ridiculous.
There's nothing better than Australian reality TV, really. Any of them to make my skin crawl.
Does the food at least look good?
Pretty fun. Sorry?
Is at least the food good?
I don't pay attention. It's just on in the background. I'm reading a book.
Then are you really watching? Should you really track it?
Because I'm present while it's playing, so it's added.
The other thing I noticed that's constantly on your Trakt is Good Mythical Mornings. What's that?
Yes. It's a morning variety show from these guys called Rhett and Link. They've been doing it for quite a long time.
Oh, the YouTubers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just basically a morning variety show where they do stupid shit like eat ridiculous food and play games and stuff like that. It's pretty entertaining. Stacey and I watch it almost every day. It's just some light entertainment. Yeah.
Cool. Really starting everybody on it.
Everyone knows who Red and Link is.
Yeah,
surely?
I feel like they're on the higher end of the YouTuber scale.
I had no idea who they were.
They've been around for a while.
How'd you find them then?
Stacey watched it,
Oh, okay.
and then I started watching it with her.
Okay.
Stacey's up to date with all the cool YouTubers and Twitchers.
Yeah.
Oh, she is actually, yeah.
She wasn't even joking. It was
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
she is.
Dylan, you finally got around to watching A Star Is Born, the most recent version, starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Academy Award worthy? Nomination worthy?
What category do you want to?
Best Picture.
No, I think it's. I like the movie. Let me put this out there right straight away. I enjoy the movie. I think the movie's good. I don't think it's anywhere near Best Picture quality, and I could easily swap it out for Paddington 2 right now without even thinking about it.
Well,
That's
there's a
an
couple.
easy swap.
There's a number of movies that were up this year that you'd.
Well,
easily
yeah,
swap out.
I'm just saying I could easily swap that, and I would leave it in if I only had to switch one thing for fucking Green Book or something, obviously. But with music's great, acting's great, screenplay is okay. I think my biggest problem with the movie is the overall story and screenplay itself. That's where it kind of falls flat. All other elements are really, really good. The acting's great. It's shot well. The music's fantastic. It's got this cinematography, especially on the stage show element, live show stuff. That's all great. But the overall story, it just didn't sell it for me very well. I found their relationship really quite weird, especially the first 10, 15 minutes that they get together. I just thought it was a very weird relationship, and I didn't buy into it because it came across very him pushing, I don't know, like him being celebrity guy and, like using that to get the girl kind of thing. And that's how it was coming across to me. And I was expecting her to have a pushback on that, and then expecting the movie to go in a route where she pushes back and she's like, fuck you, you're not going to, like, you can't just pick me up because you're a big-time celebrity music star or whatever, and then they'll end up getting together anyway because something. But, like, that moment didn't even happen. It was just kind of like he was there and then they're together. And the whole movie I never really brought into relation to their relationship, their romance, which, of course, is going to affect my opinion on the movie overall because that's a big part of the movie, which then also makes, without spoilers, the ending of the movie not have such an emotional pull and hit on me because I can't buy into that. So as much as I enjoyed watching it, I thought their characters were fine separated together. I was just like, just fuck off, Bradley Cooper. At this stage, I'd rather focus on watching her and like her career and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, so I thought it was fine. I just thought the screenplay wasn't up to par with the rest of the factors of the movie.
Okay, cool. I think me and Nick have both shared our thoughts on Star is Born before.
Yeah.
So go through a back catalogue and check it out.
In the shallow.
Is that your favourite song from the film? Or?
Yeah, I feel like it is.
I think it's the only one I remember because it's beaten into me every day
that's true.
the fucking radio.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just, brainwashed. I don't even know it, but it's a good song.
It is. Moving on to the mandatory Netflix segment. I watched the whole first season of The Umbrella Academy. So it's a complicated premise. Pretty much a bunch of women on one day in the 80s all suddenly give birth, even though they weren't pregnant that day. And then eccentric person, wealthy explorer guy, pays 7 mothers for their children, and he starts up his own superhero team.
Was there any inkling they had superpowers that they were born when they were born?
Not that I'm aware of. That wasn't said, but
so he bought a bunch of children on the premise that they might become superheroes.
Yeah, I guess.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Cut to 30 years later, and he's dead.
It's based on a comic book.
It's based on a comic book.
Set that up.
Written by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance and drawn by Gabrielle Barr, I believe. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, jump cut to 30 years later. He's just passed away. His 7 kids have 5 surviving kids are all split up. They're all messed up, let's be honest. So they sort of all come back together for his funeral, which doesn't go well. And then their long-lost 6th brother, or who's called number 5, because he never named any of his children. They're just numbered.
That sounds like the haunting of Hill House so far.
He time travels from the apocalyptic past.
Never mind.
And sets about stopping the apocalypse, which is in 7 days.
Do you mean the apocalyptic future?
Yep. Yeah, so he came back from the apocalyptic future to stop the apocalypse, which is set in 7 days. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is really, really good. Obviously, a great ensemble cast. I think it's shot really interestingly. Obviously, there's like some standout moments. There's this scene where they're all... one of the brothers plays I Think We're Alone Now. And then everybody in the house starts dancing separately. And then they sort of pull out and do like a cross-section of their house. So they're all dancing. It's a really cool shot in the premiere episode. But Ellen Page plays number 7, or Vanya, who is sort of the one without powers. and she has an interesting arc. The standout actor is Aidan Gallagher, who plays number 5, because as well as coming back from the future, he reverts back to his 13-year-old self. So he's a 13-year-old boy playing who's actually 51 years old. So he's really interesting. It's a really interesting performance. Also, there's these 2 assassins who are after him called Cha-Cha and Hazel, who are really interesting and they have a nice chemistry. And and of course the butler of the house is a monkey. You know, if you need any more selling points.
I saw some pictures of that on Twitter today, and I was like, that's why I nearly started it. I had enough time to watch one episode of something today, and I was like, maybe I need to watch that show because I saw that picture of a monkey on Twitter today.
The other standout is Robert Sheehan, who used to be on Misfits. He plays Klaus, the 4th brother, who's like a drug addict and sort of. His powers are interesting and like he's sort of.
I had no idea he's in this. I'm watching.
Yeah, he's in this. You need to watch this.
I miss him.
It is so good. He plays a similar-ish character, but sort of in a different way. Yeah, but
as much as I enjoyed that show once he left, it still wasn't.
It was never the same.
It was never the same.
Yeah. So Umbrella Academy.
I just looked up who created this show. The person who wrote and created this show wrote Fantastic Four. That's a no. Death Note. That's a no. But did create and write the the whatchamacallit TV, the horror TV series. Oh my.
Altered Carbon. He's done a couple episodes. He was on Fargo.
He did the Exorcist, the TV show, which I quite enjoyed. So I suppose, is it tonally kind of horror-ish, or is it more like
Not
CW?
really.
It sounds so it's like CW.
I'm looking at the other creator.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so is it more in tone with that, or?
It is more superhero. No, it's an odd tone. It's weird. It's got like a dysfunctional family vibe. That's the core of it. But I wouldn't say it's horror-ish. Not really. Yeah. I also watched the 2nd season of The Dragon Prince. I think I talked about it previously. It is definitely a step up. I think that they're starting to nail the characters. It definitely, obviously, one of the creators was part of the Avatar series and Legend of Korra. There's definitely a 2-part episode that's very similar to a episode in season 2 of Korra, the Legend of Korra, where they do like go back in history and sort of cover history. It was very similar. It reminded me a lot of that, but yeah. There is a dragon this season, a little dragon called Zim, who's adorable and brilliant. We need Zim plushies, we need Zim statues. Zim is the character of the year.
I feel like you only talked about the first season of the show like recently.
Yeah, it feels like it was only like 6 months or something like that. So
the 2nd season's out 6 months later.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, see, this is a Netflix thing.
It is a Netflix show. They could just do 24 episodes.
They do this thing now. I swear, this is what they do. They put them out like a pilot-ish season, and then they like, even though they're still working on the other seasons, they're like, we'll rush them faster if the first season's a success or not. Or
no, I think they just like having a bunch of episodes in the can before they release anything. Or at least they know they're going to have. It's like Queer Eye last year. They had 10 episodes, and then like 2 months later, there's another 10 episodes.
There's a whole heap, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Also, I watched a couple of comedy specials. I watched the Ray Romano special right here around the corner. That was fine. I mean,
are these Netflix ones?
Yeah, these are all both Netflix. It was fine. He does 2 sets in 2 different locations, and he sort of... It's very Ray Romano humor, I think. Maybe a little bit more blue than of what you'd expect from Everybody Loves Raymond, but it was fine. The other one was the Ken Jeong special, You Complete Me Ho, which is interesting because he pretty much just talks about his career and like what it was like doing The Hangover and Knocked Up and that sort of stuff. But if you've watched any of the like promotional stuff he's been doing, like the wide autocomplete interviews and the medical different things, he uses a lot of the same jokes. So I would recommend watching this before you watch any of that. So yeah. All right. The other thing both me and Dylan watched was the 91st Academy Awards.
It's the same story, just a different name.
In every film, there's a moment when the hero hits rock bottom.
Round after round, you learn more about yourself.
You'll do what you have to do, and then you'll do it again. find something you really love and then go after it.
The best things in life happen unexpectedly.
And that's what makes things exciting and fun.
You have to find the truth of it.
We're about to blast off!
Off we go!
How did you feel about the ceremony overall?
All right. Let's boil this down.
Here we go.
Right.
I was really enjoying the show until the end, and now I feel like the end of the show ruined the whole show for me.
So just that a last award?
Basically, I guess, yes. But overall, if I look back at it as a show, because it isn't an Oscars without a host, so we should put that out there first and say, did the Oscars work without a host? And I would say, yes, it works so well, they should just do it like that from now on.
I think that's what they're going. I think I read somewhere Kevin Hart's legacy is going to be killing needing a host in the Oscars.
Yeah, and that's a good legacy to have, because I think it works so much better having no host. In fact, they still kind of had a host because whenever we talked about this, I'd always be like, the thing the host does really is come out, do the opening monologue. That's the most important part, the opening monologue or whatever. And then they'll appear 4 or 5 times randomly throughout the show and do like another 5-minute segment or stuff. But really, the biggest part of hosting is that opening part. And even though they didn't say they were the hosts, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, and
Maya Rudolph.
Yes, they were the hosts. If you want to, they did the opening. They did the opening monologue. So I'm just going to make them the hosts. Before that, they had fucking Queen, Adam Lambert, whatever song number thing happening.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That was weird.
That was really weird. I'm
like, Adam Lambert?
Yeah. He's been touring with Queen for a while now.
It's a thing, apparently. And I was like, okay, I guess this is a thing.
It's weird for a bunch of rich people in a theater singing on to We Are the Champions.
Yeah, I'm like, I understand Bohemian Rhapsody is nominated, but it feels really weird to then have like that be such a big like opening focus number thing. So, but overall that was fine. I'm like, just kind of rolled my eyes for a bit and that was over. Then the opening monologue thing from the 3 of them was really, really funny and I really enjoyed that. And I was like, hey, they're the hosts. They did like a 5-minute bit. That's it. They may never come back, but they've done the most important part of the hosts thing. So that was fine. And the rest of the show, without having any host, worked fucking fantastically. And that's why they never need a host again, because it seemed to just run a lot better and smoother. And of course, the show's always going to be long. This is the thing. We always talk about this. They're like, oh, cut down the time, cut down time. That's why they wanted to put some of these awards behind commercials and stuff. It's like, no, that is not the fucking answer. Stop looking for as I was saying before, like the MTV Movie Awards crowd. They're not the crowd you're going to get to watch your fucking serious Academy Award show. Don't aim for kids, you know? So, but the thing is, the show's always going to be long. There's heaps of awards. I don't know how you really cut down the time, but it's not the length that's the problem for me. It is the the way it's going. And if it slows down, so that thing, if it slows down for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes can feel like half an hour if it really kind of drags on. And there was only 1 or 2 humps throughout the whole show. There was one really awkward award scene with those 3 older people that was quite
so the
weird
3
to
people
watch.
for best document.
Makeup. Yeah,
best makeup and hairdressing.
Right,
They decided they're doing a 3-way speech.
Yeah.
And didn't practice. It was awkward. I think the best tweet I saw is Elsie Fisher from 8th grade presented the award, and she was the least awkward one in that segment.
And it was, because literally the guy's like, I already did that part. She's like, well, I'll thank this. I already thanked them women. Fucking say someone else. It was really weird. So that was a bit bogged down. Then the whole like commercial for the Academy Museum thing, which I'm like, sure, I'd visit that museum if I happen to be in Los Angeles. It looks cool, but at the same time, I was like, that was a little bit of a bog for me. But overall, thought the show was fine, content-wise. But then, if you want to get behind the scenes, it's like, the last award, which we'll get to awards later, but that just to me screamed, they let all the more up-to-date, you can tell like within the Academy there is like a split or of some sort between like new age people and the older people. I feel you can kind of feel that, because there's this whole like, they're like, we're going to put awards behind the commercials, and then people backfire, and then they obviously the people in there with better minds talk to other people into being like, look, everyone fucking hates this idea. It's a stupid idea. I don't know why we all agreed to do it in the first place. Let's actually put the cinematography and the editing or whatever else it was on show. So like this whole back. And then most of the show where they let the New Age Academy members kind of have a bigger say, it seems. It's like, this is running well, this is running well. And then right at the end, they're like, don't forget the old white folks are in charge. And then they like slam down their last award. And I was like, yeah, I was aware, but for a second I did forget. You're right. You got me back though. The old white folks certainly are still in charge of the academies.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a good show without a host, and it was better than last year's from memory and stuff. So
yeah, it definitely felt smoother, and it didn't feel like they were shoehorning in someone, you know, every 20 minutes to remind you that they're the host. You just had the announcer read out who the presenters were. They come out and they do their bit. Obviously, standout presenters easily Brian Tyree Henry and Melissa McCarthy, who come out in a mashup of all the costumes from all the nominated films.
Oh no, I'd vote Samuel L. Jackson. And that's my Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson probably. He got the reaction of the night.
He made me laugh. He made me laugh the most just because of his reactions to the awards. So that was quite good. Yeah, but my last thing on the host thing, I'll say, would you prefer? Look, you remember the Ellen show that everyone's always like, oh, I fucking want like Ellen back and Ellen back. Would you actually want that? Because every time I think about that and see that picture sheet of the selfie and all that running to the crowd, I don't want that at all. I don't want that.
So
stay the fuck away from that.
Cringy and trying to be young. I feel like, just be professional.
Professional show.
The people who actually watch these films, these low budget films, will come and watch. I mean, we were on Twitter all day. We saw all the people, the same minded people watching the show as well. So they've definitely got an audience, because there are a lot of people tweeting about the Oscars. With any other standout presenters, I thought I've seen people not like Awkwafina and John Mulaney, but I thought their bit was amusing.
I thought it was funny. I thought I was like, are people going to get offended because they're doing like the whole, oh, it's a big award this, it's a big award this, but
the diminishing
I thought it was fine. Like it's they're not like being mean spirited. It's obviously a joke that everyone can understand and make, because it's like animated, short, documentary, short feature, whatever, short subject matter or whatever it's called. I'm like, everyone can understand, like in the bigger picture, those awards. We're not saying that they're shit awards or anything. They were making a joke.
Smaller.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. They weren't making me laugh out loud, but I thought it was entertaining.
And then I guess next thing, the performances. They had Queen, I guess maybe because for time and because Kendrick pulled out. So they only had 4 songs performed. Even then, they didn't have the actual performers on for like 2 of them. They had Bette Midler do the song for Mary Poppins, and then some country artists, I think, did the one from Buster Scruggs. But that shallow performance, I thought that was brilliantly shot and put together. It was just a one shot from behind the stage, which I don't think I've ever seen in an award ceremony like this. And then it's just Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga obviously coming up from the crowd, no introduction, after they push out all the piano and stuff. And then just seeing the whole entire Oscars audience sort of in darkness while there's spotlights on them, are obviously mirroring from A Star Is Born how they shot that. I thought it was pretty incredible.
That performance was amazing. I loved everything, the way that it just happened. You know, there was no introduction or anything. They just walk up. I'm like, you can't just have them walk up on stage and do this. This is not a thing that you're allowed to do. You shouldn't be allowed to do this. And then also, I think, like, I understand it's Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, but they were still performing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of people online being like, oh, fucking, she's giving him the fuck me eyes and all this sort of shit. To me, I'm like, they were just performing still. When they started doing the song, they were just back in character, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a degree. Because a lot of it was, like, from her standing there and, you know, like, it was all a big performance to me. Even if they weren't 100% in their characters, of course, it was just a performance thing. And, the camera from behind and all that sort of stuff. It was, that whole segment was just live shot Better than the whole of the actual movie. There you go.
I guess we better go through the awards. We'll start from the bottom of this list I'm looking at. Best animated short film went to Bao, the Pixar film about a sentient Bao.
Do you have our predictions here to say who got what right or wrong?
I can. I'm pretty sure we both got this one.
Yeah, I feel like we both got that one, but
yeah,
I also got
I have the final numbers, so it's all good.
I played at home and I got everyone correct.
Well, we've got no way to confirm that. Well, seeing as you know, who won best documentary short subject, Nick?
The one I picked.
Which was?
The winner.
Which was Period End of Sentence. Again, incredible title. Appreciated even more when I learned that it's about Indian menstruation stuff. I know it's on Netflix at the moment, so 20-minute documentary.
That was a great acceptance speech.
That was a great acceptance.
That lady just ran up there and she's like, a movie about periods, what?
Yeah, it was pretty great. And then best live action short film was Skin, which is the synopsis is: in a small supermarket in a blue-collar town, a black man smiles at a white boy across the checkout aisle. This innocuous moment forces racial tensions to the breaking point and sends two gangs into a ruthless war. So, look forward to that because I'm pretty sure it's being picked up by A24, I think, to be made into a feature.
Oh, my favorite place.
Yeah. So, congrats to them. Then we had best makeup and hairstyling went to Vice, which wasn't surprised. We sort of all picked that. Then best costume design and best production design went to Black Panther.
Yeah, it did.
Two separate categories.
Deservingly so.
Yeah, definitely deserved. Best cinematography went to Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. First ever director to win the award for DPing their own film.
Fucking shocked me right out of my boots, that one did.
Is that the first instance a Marvel film has won an Oscar?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. That Alfonso Cuarón one, though, that was... I didn't predict it, although I would have picked it, because I was like, they're not going to give it to... because it's a prestigious place, award academy and stuff. I'm like, they're not going to give it to the guy who... as good as a job as he did, who was like, fuck, the person who I was supposed to hire can't turn up anymore. Fuck it, I'll do it myself. Like, because it was such a, I'll be right. I'll work it out.
I mean,
I'll
it should be
do it
right,
myself.
mate.
That happens all the time in the film industry.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah, no, I was happy, but yeah, I was like, holy shit, really? That's interesting.
Okay, then best sound editing, best sound mixing, and best editing all went to Bohemian Rhapsody, which Twitter wasn't a fan of.
No, not the editing one. And I still haven't. Well, I'll give my thoughts on the Bohemian Rhapsody later. We'll say that, won't we? We'll say that. But there's been that one clip going around on Twitter that everyone was retweeting, and if you just want to look at that clip solely by itself, that 2-minute clip, it is hard not to go, how the fuck did this win best editing? Because it is a 2-minute clip that I think has about 200 fucking cuts in it. And it is...
It was like a trailer.
It's nuts to watch. It's like... I've seen people in the comments theorizing that some of the actors in their contracts must have had certain amount of screen time. Their face needs to be on screen. That's why it's cutting so fucking much to try and fit as many people into the runtime as possible. But yeah, it's quite weird. But yeah, a lot of people weren't happy about that one.
Well, an editor is based on the value of how many cuts per minute they can do, just like a typer. It is.
No.
Ash is just like, no, I'm not having this one. No. No,
not accepting that joke. Best visual effects went to First Man. Their only win of the night.
I picked that one and was happy it won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to say, everyone online's like, oh, fucking Avengers and Star Wars and whatever else. Just because it has more visual effects does not mean it is better at visual effects. And often what makes the best visual effects is the stuff you just don't notice, And First Man recreated something... It recreated real life, right? To the point where you wouldn't have even noticed the special effects because they were that good and part of the movie. Whereas often these other movies, you walk away from them and some of the first things you say is, oh, the visual effects were good, because you know they're visual effects, because you know they're things that don't exist and your mind can't break that and stuff. And then I'm not saying those, like, as much as I like Solo and Avengers and the visual effects are good in those movies for the most part, I do think a lot of times people are like, oh, the bigger, flashier stuff is the better visual effects. And it's not. That's not how it works.
Yep. Best documentary feature went to Free Solo. I thought they had a pretty good speech. I mean...
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And then best foreign language film, not unsurprisingly, went to Roma.
I was happy.
Very happy.
I was expecting it to win the other one though, the best picture, and I thought this is going to shake world grounds this year if it wins best picture, best foreign film, best cinematographer, best director. Would have fucking shocked someone.
That was a stacked category though. 3 of those films were nominated in other categories, which is pretty much unheard of, I think.
Yeah, and that brings up another argument for another day but something I often think about, at least for the last couple of years, because this is happening a lot more, I feel, where it's like, do we even need best foreign if a lot of the foreign films are just getting nominated for other stuff anyway? You know what I mean? Like, are we still... I understand it's an American awards, but there's so much crossover these days that it's... And especially if... What is it, like 6 out of the last 7 director winners were all Mexican or something?
Well,
like,
there's only been 4 winners in the last 7 years, but yeah, 3 of them are Mexican.
Oh, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's like there's a lot of... They try and be like it's an American award, so it's best foreign film, and they separate all this stuff, but like maybe the categories in my mind can do with a big overhaul from other things, including like animated category and stuff. I'm like, maybe treat animated films, nominate Spider-Man for best picture, and, you know, knock down some walls and build some separate categories and stuff, but yeah.
Speaking of best animated feature, obviously Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won, making every comic book fan across the world very happy.
Well, did you hear how much louder the crowd even cheered when they was going through the nominees? Yeah, because they were like, yeah, clap, 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 and then when Spider-Man came on, you could just hear everyone in the auditorium there just cheer so much louder when Spider-Man came on.
It was a clear favorite, clear winner.
Favorite, yeah.
Best original score went to Black Panther. Ludwig Göransson, very happy, pleased to see.
I'm pleased. I didn't expect it though, to be honest, but I am pleased. Yeah.
Very interesting. Unsurprising, Shallow won Best Original Song. Best Original Screenplay went to Green Book.
Yeah. Even though it's based on a book, you fucking...
I mean, it's based on real life. So, arguably.
I mean, you can argue all you want, but I'm like...
Just because it's called Green Book doesn't mean it's not about the actual...
It's based on something. It's based on...
It's a true story. I don't know. Yeah, it's a confusing... I guess true stories... As long as it's not in another scripted format, don't count. Like Vice, obviously. We all know what happened there. But no. And then Best Adapted Screenplay went to Black Klansman. Feel good moment of the day. Arguably.
That one was really good. And
after Samuel L. Jackson came out and roasted Spike Lee about the Knicks winning.
You can tie these all in together to why Samuel L. Jackson giving the award was my favourite part, because he comes out, he roasts Spike about the sports stuff I don't understand, but it was still quite funny because he was so off script, and that was quite amusing. Then he reads the award for Green Book, and you can see him visually on his face go...
Visually disgusted.
Visually disgusted and kind of be like, the fuck? And then like, he's like, he doesn't even say it loudly, he's just like, Green Book won.
and then Brie Larson has to read out all the names.
Brie Larson has to read the rest because Samuel L. Jackson's like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And then it comes back for the next award, and then he, after giving Spike so much shit, gets to actually read out the name of his friend and yell and basically be like, Spike fucking Jones, Black Klansman, yeah. And then Spike runs up and jumps on him, and it was like the big difference between those two awards was something to watch.
Then we had Best Director, which went to Alfonso Cuarón. Again, not surprising, but I guess in the big scheme of things, surprising. Deserving, I guess, is probably the better word. Then the acting awards. Best Supporting Actor went to Mahershala Ali. Not surprising, he's been the favourite. He's won pretty much every single award, I feel like.
He's now won Best Supporting twice, though.
Yeah, he won for Moonlight as well.
Moonlight, yeah, so... Yeah.
Even
though, this is one of the arguments for Green Book, He should have been.
We'll get into that. Then Best Supporting Actress was Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Nice touch for that film. Then Rami Malek won for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Makes sense.
We'll get into our thoughts about that later. And then Best Actress, and probably the upset of the night, I think. Olivia Colman won for The Favourite. I feel like everybody was pulling for either Glenn Close or Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
specifically Glenn
everyone
Close.
wanted Glenn Close. Like all of Twitter I saw was Glenn Close, and was upset that she didn't win it. But then I'm like, okay, I understand. Like, she's been nominated a bunch of times and wants one and whatever else. But I'm like, it's not like someone who. It's not like Green Book winning. It's not the same sort of thing where it's like people are just like, how the hell did that even get here? It's like people who were upset that Glenn Close didn't win still can't turn around and go, oh, Olivia Colman's so shit. They're like, yeah, she's good, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't know. You don't need to be that upset because it's not like it's not a huge uproar for Olivia Colman's fucking racist and she won the award or something. You know, something like that. It's just like they're upset because they wanted her to win, even though she did such a good job. Her acceptance speech, one of the best of the nights because it was just so human, I guess. Yeah. Is the way to word it. Yeah.
It was just sort of stumbling over words.
Well, she got up there first thing. She's like,
to Glenn Close.
Yeah, she's like, gets up there. She's like, it's quite funny, this, isn't it?
Well, it's crazy. She's like got a history in comedies, obviously. I think you tweeted out she used to be on Black Book.
Yeah, that's the first thing I always remember from. She was in an episode of Black Books, then she was in
Hot
Edgar
Fuzz.
Wright stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so
all
crazy.
that sort of stuff. And then the first time I saw her do something serious was Broadchurch. Yeah. It was the first time I ever saw her do something serious. And even then I was like, what's this comedy lady doing in this fucking serious TV show? So, you know, I still haven't watched The Favourite, but I'm a fan of her. So,
yeah, she's definitely a worthy winner. I think she has a great performance in that. And she thanked Lady Gaga at the end of her speech for some reason because she was standing there.
She just ends the sentence. It wasn't even like a thank. It was just an end of the sentence. It was like, instead of having a full stop, she was just like, Lady Gaga, and then walks off.
All right, and then the Best Picture, beating out Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favourite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice, Green Book. And then film Twitter went crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
One way to put it. And I feel like this is one of those things where, all right, let me put it out there. I haven't watched the movie, and I have zero plans to watch it.
None of us have watched it.
No, yeah.
To be fair.
I have zero plans to watch it.
I was excited to watch it.
My problem with it is I've read so many articles at this point pointing out that have pointed out all the problems with it, and I was even reading stuff today while I was reading like people's thoughts and problems with the movie. One article was just someone's blog post. I saw someone share on Twitter where they were writing as a black gay person, like how the film. Well, they was watching it and they found it overall quite offensive to watch, and the audience reaction of how basically themselves and the other black person who was in the cinema were never laughing at the jokes, but every white person was constantly laughing because of how the jokes were so obviously orientated to a certain type of audience and all these sorts of things. So, yeah, if you don't understand the problems with the movie, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how you.
Well. Let me read this piece from Justin Chang from the LA Times. Article's called Oscars 2019, Green Book is the worst Best Picture winner since Crash. Green Book is the worst Best Picture Oscar winner since Crash, and I don't make the comparison lightly. Like the 2000 film, Peter Farley's interracial buddy dramedy is insultingly glib and huckatish, a self-satisfied crock masquerading as an olive branch. It reduces the long, barbaric, and ongoing history of American racism to a problem, a formula, a dramatic equation that can be solved and balanced. Green Book is an embarrassment. The film industry's unquestioning embrace of it is another. The differences between the two films are as telling as the similarities. Crash, a modern-day screamfest that racked up cross-cultural tensions by the minute, meant to leave you angry and wrung out. Its Oscar triumph was a genuine shocker. It clearly had its fans, but for many, its inferiority was self-evident. Green Book was a slick crowd pleaser set in the Deep South in 1962, strains to put you in a good mood. Its victory is appalling but far from shocking. From the moment it won the People's Choice Awards at the Toronto International Film Festival last September, the first of several precursors it would pick up en route to Sunday's Oscars ceremony, the movie was clearly a much more palatable brand of god-awful. In telling the story of the brilliant erudite jazz pianist Don Shirley, who was chauffeured on his southern concert tour by a rough-edged Italian-American bouncer named Tony Lip Vallaloga, played by Viggo Mortensen. Green Book serves up bald-faced cliches and stereotypes with a drollery that almost qualifies as disarming. Mortensen and Ali, who won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, are superb performers with smooth timing and undeniable chemistry. The movie wades into the muck and mire of white supremacy, cracks a few wince-worthy jokes, gasps in horror at a black man's abuse and humiliation, then digs up a nugget of uplift to send you home with a little token of virtue to go with that smile on your face. It definitely feels like it just paints racism with a broad brush, and I feel like that is what has pissed off a lot of, I would say the left is probably the most descriptive overall term. I think there's also some other issues where they didn't get in touch with, pretty much dismissed John Shirley's family completely. And the writer is quoted as both saying he was told not to talk to the family and he didn't know they existed in separate interviews, so...
Yeah. I was reading an article just before. Apparently there's actually a documentary that's more about... what's the person's name again? Sorry,
Don Shirley.
John Shirley, I think. About them and like a bigger focus on the actual Green Book itself. Which until like a couple weeks ago, when I was reading more about this movie, I had no idea what the film's title was even about and what its like thing is, because I didn't even know. But it's like if you don't know, like me, Green Book was a book that black people back in the day had to use like to lead them to safe places.
Yeah, it's like a registry of safe places for black people to go.
Yes, back in the day where obviously white people would go off and whatever else, and they'd get bashed and whatever else, or worse, obviously. I had no idea that was even a thing, or that's why the film was titled that. And then I was reading an article where they're like, it only comes up in the film like twice, very fast, even though it's like the name of the book, but they basically never go into it. And I was reading a lot of people's other problems with the film is how it basically focuses on Viggo Mortensen's character over Mahershala Ali's character, which is really weird given that he's the star character and the reason the film's even kind of happening and all these other weird factors. And then, that I can't remember. I'd say who it was, but I honestly can't remember. But that word, it was just someone's blog. It was like a .wordpress thing, but I read it all because it was quite interesting just talking about their perspective watching the movie in the cinema. But I was saying like one of the jokes in the movie is about how Viggo Mortensen's character takes Mahershala Ali's character into the diner or whatever and goes to buy him chicken for dinner, and then he's like, oh, I've never had chicken for dinner, and it's a whole big joke. It's like, oh wait, you've never had chicken? Wink wink. That's crazy considering, wink wink, you're a black person. Like it plays on that whole stereotype and they were saying how in the audience, like all the white people were laughing like, oh, never eaten chicken before, that's crazy. Whereas they're sitting there as a
fried chicken to be
fried chicken, like the whole stereotype. And whereas they're sitting there just kind of like, that's not a funny, like, what year is it? Like, it's 2018, 19, whenever I was, watching it. It's like, is this really what low playing field joke we're coming for at this stage? But yeah, everything I've read, I never liked about the movie since it released. Because ever since it released or its first showing, I've read nothing but bad things about it. And any of the positive stuff I read is basically everyone writes like a lot of negatives, and it always ends on going, but I can't end this without saying it is acted well. The screenplay is pretty much shit, and the only reason the movie is even entertaining is because both of the lead actors are so charismatic, and they are really good, and they do lead the movie, but without them in their roles, the movie would just not be anywhere near what it is. And I'm like, sounds about right considering who's involved with it, no offense, but yeah, overall I find it really weird. I get the Crash thing because Crash is a thing where I remember watching Crash when it came out when I was in high school, and I remember really liking it because it was kind of playing. Crash is another weird movie where it just plays to white people playing into like you've watched this, it made you feel better now because you've got an idea about racism and all these fucking other sorts of things and stuff. But I remember I tried to watch Crash 5 or so years ago at some stage, and that movie's fucking terrible. And I don't understand how it won the Oscar at all, and I can understand the comparisons to the two movies after reading them and like what people's similar problems are between both of them. But Even without watching it, I'm like reading all the rest of the nominees. I'm like, really? Like, really? You're going to give it to the movie that everyone basically agrees, even if you push aside the quote political issues or whatever you want to call it, pushing all that aside, everyone's still just like, it's an average movie that's upheld by good actors, and the rest of it's kind of meh. That's what I feel like most people I've read say about it. If you push aside the rest of the stuff, but I'm like, you're really going to give it to that over the rest of it?
Yeah, I don't.
Did the older white people get 2 votes? Everyone else is 1 in this category? Like, is that how it worked?
No, they got all split over all the other ones. I guess all the diverse films.
I don't know. It's such it's honestly the biggest uproar for Best Picture I feel in
a long time. Yeah,
it's very long time since Crash. Probably, yeah. It's a very big. Obviously, every year people have problems for like the first day or week that happens, but not like to this degree where people are like, this movie like has racial issues and, you know, whatever. The bigger people were like, oh, that movie should have won because this person was, you know, typical arguing, film Twitter arguing or whatever. But this is much different to that, where people are like, yeah, Academy, you fucked up hard here, I feel. So this is going to be an interesting one for the coming weeks or year.
To be fair, it does have an 80% rating on Rotten Tomatoes from 298 reviews with an average rating of 7.3, a Metacritic of 69, which I guess really isn't the best, but, you know, nice. It also does have an A+ rating with CinemaScore, which is sort of like a advertising sort of poll of audiences of what they actually think of the film. So that's really good. And then Post-Track, which is like inferior version of Trakt, has a 91% positive score and 80% definite recommends. And of course, it's been nominated for 102 different awards. So, I mean, it's clearly got some sort of support. And obviously it has a base that really loves it. But I feel, it just feels like maybe the voices that we look at are the ones that are being most loud against it. Also, bring it back to Spike Lee. Apparently, he tried to walk out of the theater when Green Book got announced.
I saw this tweet, and I chose not to believe it because I didn't see any footage or stuff to back it up. And even if he tried to do it, I would be like, I mean, you can do what you need. You can do what you need to do. I watched that other video you tweeted, though, the Hollywood Reporter or whatever it was.
It was the press conference after.
Press conference behind the scenes. And, yeah, like someone asked him, like, what are your thoughts on Green Book winning Best Picture? And he's just like...
drinking champagne. He likes...
he like takes a big sip and he's like, next question. He's not even touching that with a fucking 10-foot pole. But, I mean, you know what his opinion is going to be. You see how even like Sam Jackson reacted visually on stage giving the screenplay award. So... it's a weird win. It is definitely a really, really... weird.
Also weird, they didn't thank Don Shirley in their speech, but they made extra effort to make sure they thanked Carrie Fisher.
Did they? Because, all right, honestly, if you saw my Twitter, I uploaded a video where I turned it off and walked away. That wasn't just for effect. I literally turned it off and didn't watch anymore. Why'd they thank Carrie Fisher?
I have no idea.
What the fuck?
She might, unless she has some sort of connection. They thought the mic had been turned off, but I think it must have just been the mic in the auditorium. And then they just went, oh, thanks, Carrie Fisher, on the telecast. So there were a couple of weird moments of that where people looked like they were continuing the speeches.
Yeah, there was some of that I saw.
They got cut off in the broadcast, or whether they got cut off in the actual auditorium.
In the actual auditorium. Yeah, I don't know. I did see on Twitter, even though I did watch it, but people were saying apparently also Peter Farley basically said Viggo Mortensen had a bigger hand in it or something. What was that about?
I think it all started with Viggo Mortensen, maybe because he was like the first person cast in the role. I mean, he's the bigger the name of the two.
The guy who said the N-word during the thing and then was like, "Oh yeah, whoops, sorry, shouldn't have said that."
Yeah.
I
mean, it's amusing because the way he said it was, "We don't use N-word anymore."
Yeah,
but
you just did. I loved the pictures of everyone on stage accepting that award. And it's like, look at all these white people accepting this award for a film about the like discrimination, racism during the whatever years. And it's like fucking 12 white dudes up on stage. It's like, yeah, if anyone can tell their story.
Yeah, they kept cutting.
Like, if you want to give an award to, if the Academy this year was like, we really want to give an award to a film that's doing something about racism in the world, that's both focuses on now and the historic past. We could either pick between Green Book or, I don't know. No, that's all there is. Well, how about Black Klansman, which is set in the past, but then, spoilers, ends and basically ties it all into a message about the future and present and stuff like that. So it's really weird that wins, and it's a movie that's like ploying towards like feeling good about we've solved racism because it's fine now. Whereas Black Klansman's over here not even trying to say that. Black Klansman's over here like, yeah, racism still fucking exists. It's still happening. We need to fucking fix this shit. And they're like, yeah, fucking stay away from that movie. Give it to the one that's like, we've solved it all.
To be fair, Black Klansman isn't best picture worthy in my opinion.
I think it's better. It's like
not as seen the other one. The other ones I've seen, I don't think it deserved to win over the other ones that I'd seen in there.
Oh, I wouldn't give it the Black Klansman out of, like, it wouldn't even be in my top 3 out of the nominees here. But I'm like, if they're trying to give it to, if they're like aiming to give it to a movie that's trying to tell a message about racism in the current state of the world or something like that, I find it really weird to give it to.
But what's to say that's the motivation behind why they gave it anyway?
I don't think it is. I just think that's a. It's a funny.
Anyway, I looked up the Carrie Fisher thing. Apparently, producer Charles Wesser was good friends with her.
Yep. Sure. So thank her, but not the person who played you based.
Oh, I'm not excusing.
No, yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just
yeah,
it's amusing. That was the thought process.
Rami Malek also forgot to and didn't thank. Mental blanking.
Which director?
Freddie
Mercury.
He didn't thank Freddie Mercury. He's like, I'll thank this person, thank this person, thank this person.
Well, he thanked Queen, and if they, I
mean, if you're winning an award for playing someone, yeah, if you're winning an award for playing a real person, I think even if they're alive or dead, you kind of you owe it to. Like give the say a few words of thanking them or like this award's for them or something along those lines. So I also found that quite a bit of a weird one. But yeah, no, everyone was dodging saying fucking Bright Seconds. No, don't fucking. I'd like to thank Craft. Yeah, I saw
Craft Services.
The producers, the dog that was on set. Was there anyone else involved in this movie? No? Okay, yeah, no, it's fine. All right, moving on. Who made this movie, by the way?
It just happened.
It just happened, yeah.
No, hang on. I need to pull up one of my favorite tweets from the day.
I should have been saving some because there was some
some really good ones. David Ehrlich tweeted, Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Editing for editing Bryan Singer out of its awards narrative.
Deserving. Now that you've said it that way, 100% deserving, I feel. Yeah.
You're right. Okay, 3 last things I want to touch on before we move on from the Oscars. I thought the opening montage was really good. Got to see bits and pieces of stuff that wasn't nominated. Got to see Love, Simon, Aquaman, 8th Grade, a bunch of different other little films. I thought that was pretty cool.
All the stuff they snubbed.
All the stuff that they snubbed and should have been nominated.
They should have brought Paddington out on stage and then apologized to him.
Yeah. Was there any Paddington 2 in it? I couldn't...
No, not that I saw.
No, they even messed that up. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, secondly, I just want to remind everyone that these awards are totally subjective and don't really matter, really, in the big scheme of things. Like what you like, don't like what you don't like. It's really not that important.
People always say that. It's like, why does anyone care about this stuff? And it's like, I don't really care, but it's like the Oscars, because I'm so heavy into, movies and stuff, is just kind of like a Super Bowl type thing to me, I guess.
I don't know, yeah.
Is the easiest way to think about it?
It's like Drake said at the Grammys, we're all winners. We're all huge successful artists.
It's just a bit of fun. It doesn't actually...
Don't cry for Bradley Cooper because he didn't win the Oscars. He can go home and cry in his giant stacks of money. with his beautiful girlfriend
I'm sure he's
massive
fine.
house. Yeah, he'll live on. And finally, our final results from the Oscars predictions. Dylan, this year you got 11 right. Improvement on last year. Pretty sure we got like 7 or 8 last year. So
we get better. The more we talk about movies, the better we get at predicting awards.
But again, not as good as me with 13 correct predictions.
Some bullshit wins.
What? 1. I got live action short. That was the only bullshit arguable guess that I got that you didn't. I mean,
I don't know about that documentary one.
What? Free Solo? That was a good choice.
So was RGB, but here I am.
Yeah, well, right to the Academy.
Bohemian fucking sound mixing and shit.
Oh, well, yeah.
Get out of here.
Screwed everybody up. Let's move into some other news. One of the biggest stories of the week is that we are getting a second season of The Haunting of Hill House, except it won't be based on Hill House. It is being turned into an anthology series. The second season will be called The Haunting of Bly Manor and is based on the classic Gothic novel Turn the Screw, which focuses on a governess who, caring for 2 children in a remote estate, becomes convinced that the grounds are haunted.
Which sounds very much like the others.
Yeah. Well, this novella has been adapted a gazillion times.
But I've never seen... Yeah, I've got it... I'm going to read it next, so I have an idea of what it is going into it. I'm excited that they're doing an anthology and not just extending the story of The Haunting of Hill House, which I think could have ended very, very badly. So...
Well, yeah. I said... I can't really say about spoilers, don't think, but... Well, I kind of can. The only season 2 idea that works for me is if they'd done like kind of what the actual book or films did, because they could have like transitioned to that plot line if they wanted to, but then I didn't really like that idea anyway. But that's the only way I could thought that a season 2 could have even kind of continued it. Yeah. So I'm all in for this anthology series.
Yeah. Based off... If I imagine they keep going to the same route based off renowned historic
bits of literature.
Novels. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as Mike Flanagan's involved, I'm down, is where I'm at. You know, he's kind of proven himself to be one of the great horror directors at the moment with a lot of what he's been doing for the last 5 years or whatever it is. Definitely seems to be putting out success after success. So as long as he's on board, I'm on board.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an interesting career trajectory.
He's got Doctor Sleep this year, so...
Yeah. But
is he doing that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Of course, this isn't going to be coming out till 2020, so not till next year, which I guess isn't surprising, seeing as he's got another film coming out. Don't rush it. Yeah. Just work on writing. Yeah. And of course, Haunting of Hill House was our #1 TV series of last year, which you can read the article about on explosionnetwork.com or check out Top 5, where we talked about it several times on different episodes.
It's a good show.
So also this week, there's been a bunch of rumors about possible Star Wars spin-offs. So I'm going to list what people have been rumored, and you tell me if you're interested or whether that seems like a terrible idea.
My answer is give me the ones that I already know are happening and then talk to me about more.
All right. So apparently they've rumored a Knights of Ren movie, TV series or limited series, focusing on the Knights of Ren that Kylo Ren hangs out with in that one scene that everybody...
I'm gonna put a big no on that one, considering we don't even have confirmation that they're actually going to show back up in episode 9, even though I'm pretty safe to lock in that they will, considering that was one of the complaints people had, and JJ obviously was involved in them in the first place. But getting the ball kind of started on a show when you don't know if they're going to be... It's one of those things where people only like them because they look cool in that one shot. But they could be shit characters.
Like Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick?
So yeah, I don't
know. I'm going to say this for all of them. I'll probably watch it if it comes out, but yeah, I'm not entirely
all right, well, you tell me if you definitely won't watch it.
Okay.
Like, would you watch a Rose Tico TV series? You know, focusing on the character that everybody loved from the last film.
Oh, no. Probably not.
Where the fuck are these rumors coming from? Everyone knows that, like, fucking angry fanboys online hate that character.
I know.
So
I've
why the
seen
hell
it
would they do a
several
TV
places.
show?
Yeah. Well,
That's such a weird...
people love her just as much as people just like
I'd watch a show about her, sure. I like her.
Yeah, I don't hate a character. I just, yeah.
I like a character. I like the backstory I got. They went into her sister a little bit more in one of the books. So if it was based before episode 8, or maybe it's based after 9, I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I'd be intrigued. Whatever.
A Captain Phasma TV show or limited series.
Nope.
I mean,
Dead, buried.
Maybe a TV movie.
Get
adapting
over
the
it.
book.
Well, if they adapted the book, yes. Because that would make an interesting thing. If they adapted her, I can't remember the name of the book now. Sorry, but the origin book they did about her, which is like she lives on a planet and is basically running around with fucking sticks and shit. And then one day, some First Order crash lands there, and she's like, "Oh shit, what the fuck's this? It's a gun. Cool, that's awesome." If they wanted to turn that book into a thing of how she got from that to being where she is in the First Order, that would be an interesting thing. But then once they start opening that can of worms of adapting books into TV shows, they'll fuck my mind too hard, bro. Then I'll just be like, well, they need to turn this one into a show and this one into a show. So I don't know if they want to open that can of worms, because I know a lot of people would be the same as me. Like, well, this one should be next. This one should be next.
Yeah. Apparently there's rumors that there's going to be a Darth Bane TV show. Now, Darth Bane is like an ancient Sith figure who enacted the rule of 2, of there only being 2 Siths at any time.
It
seems like a weird,
sticker. Yeah,
a really weird choice.
On this one.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
This is their way dipping their toe into the orders of the Old Republic kind of shit.
If only they would. A Poe Dameron series.
I could see that being a thing.
Really? Do you think Oscar
Would they
Isaac
get?
wants to...
Yeah, unless
that's
it's
the only.
animated
That's
thing.
the only issue, I think.
Well, if they want to do it, because they're doing the Diego Luna one, right?
Yeah,
he's not like a small time actor. You know, he's like a medium or whatever.
He's working on Narcos.
Yeah, he's not nobody is my thing. Like, obviously that takes up time and scheduling and whatever, because it's 10 episodes. And then obviously the Mandalorian, you've got Pedro Pascal, not a small actor. Obviously, it's the same sort of thing.
Well, he's on Narcos.
He was, yeah, that's true. It's like the only people that get cast for these Star Wars TV shows have to be from Narcos. It's how it works. But yeah, they could lock up his schedule. It just depends. It's one of those things. It's like, would he be open to it? I would say if the money's right, of course he would be. And if the characters
and if the story
fine
right,
and the writing and the story, it all makes sense to him, then I don't see any reason why he would be against it. And then it really just comes down to Disney being able to schedule it right around anything else he would want to do to be able to film it. And if they did it, it would be a 10-episode thing. And yeah, it's not impossible, I feel, for a show like that to happen. And that's definitely one they would make a shit ton of money off, and would also be a show that I reckon would be a good one to lead the charge of, you need to subscribe to our service to watch this, because a lot of people love that character, obviously. So that could be a good one for them to get subscriptions off. Yeah.
Another one, Finn. John Boyega's Finn.
Nah.
Yeah. Unless something interesting happens in episode 9, I can't see them.
Yeah, no.
Any interest, like, yeah.
I don't know how you could expand on the character other than what we already know about him.
Yeah, because you can't go back and make a prequel, really, because we all know how that went.
Yeah, there's a book about it anyway, so.
Then a Kira movie. The character that Amelia Clarke plays in Solo.
No.
What? But, you know, what? A prequel? Or because they're not going to do one that's
well,
after
you could
Solo.
do you could, assuming we're not getting another Solo movie.
I'd assume we are.
Okay.
I would still say we're going to get another Solo movie.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
if we're
think
not gonna
this
get another-
hinges on whether that happens or not.
Yeah, and if we're not going to get another Solo movie, I reckon what they would still use her character in the Boba Fett movie or something like that. Like, as long as it's tied into the criminal underworld aspect of Star Wars, then it doesn't need to be a Han Solo sequel movie. It could just be any character that's around that time period, and they can fit her character into that movie and have her storyline still continue through it. So that's how I see her returning, not through a TV show.
And she will have time coming up because Game of Thrones is ending.
That is true.
As ended, arguably, because it's shot.
No, she got to do about a year and a half of press.
That's true. South of King's Landing coming soon. Lando Calrissian TV series. I think this is a long shot.
Donald Glover doesn't have time for that shit.
No. I think it would sort of.
What if
lose
it's
interest.
old Lando and old mate comes back?
No, they'd specifically say Donald Glover. I think you diminish a bit from his performance if we had a TV series. I think it was special because it was just a small snippet. I think if we see him day to day, it would lose interest.
Yeah,
unless he's shopping for capes every episode, then
thinking about it, it's not even something I'd want. You know, like that character is good as a supporting character. I don't really need it as a lead TV show character.
Yep. Okay, last two I think are reasonably interesting. Young Princess Leia.
No. Although prequel books they've done have been interesting, but I just don't see their storylines that they could tell about young Leia being interesting to like main Star Wars, because they're all political based and these sorts of things, and growing up as a kid and stuff. But we all know that the political aspect of Star Wars is not the element that a lot of people enjoy about the universe.
You get Aaron Sorkin to write it.
Maybe. But I mean, from what we know in the books and stuff, like, obviously it makes sense. A lot of her childhood is growing up learning how to be a politician. That's how she was brought up. So that's what it would be. And is that a show that I could see people watching? Not really.
Not only that, who would they get to play? Because wasn't she meant to be fairly young at the beginning of A New Hope anyway?
If it was like really young, she'd have to be like 15,
like a teenager, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has the appeal that they want from that name.
No. Everyone fan casts Millie Bobby Brownie.
Yeah.
As her.
Brown. Yeah.
Brown. Is it Brown? I thought it was Brownie. Okay, never mind.
No.
Brown. There you go.
Yeah. And then the other one that I think plausible-ish, Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series.
Nah, movie. If you only think Ewan McGregor back once, it's a movie.
Why? You do a 6-episode miniseries.
I think you can get more money out of a movie than you can a TV show.
But it's safer. That's what Disney's thinking. It's a safer bet than doing a huge...
I feel like it's more of an event thing, and I feel like making a TV show isn't as big as an event. And if you're going to have Ewan McGregor come back, be fucking Obi-Wan, put Obi-Wan back into Star Wars again, it has to be a massive event. It has to be a big build-up. It has to be giant movie posters and have people in cinemas. It can't be a 6-episode thing. It's too big of a character, an actor.
It's since its whole started, everyone has just been beating the drum of Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan. They wouldn't do it on TV.
I think with TV,
You're wrong, Ashley.
You don't have to have as much action, which I don't think the Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3. Yeah. You can get away with not having a huge action spectacle.
Yeah, but I want beautifully shot desert landscape shots and a haunting experience.
You're not thinking of this. You're not thinking of this in fiscal sense for Disney. It'd just be so much money for them.
How many people are going to sign up for their streaming service if it's got a freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series?
They might get 1 month out of it. Sign up and done.
Well, apparently that's what everybody wants to do. Looking at you, Game Pass. Moving on. Not surprising, but Marvel's Jessica Jones and The Punisher have been cancelled by Netflix.
Finally happened.
Of course, Jessica Jones Season 3 is still coming out, but it won't be renewed for a 4th season.
I think that'll be my last Marvel TV show I watch, because I didn't even watch the last season of Daredevil. I never even started Punisher.
Yeah.
Whatever else is going on. I think the last season of anything I even watched was season 2 of... No, The Defenders was the last thing I watched, and then I didn't watch anything after that. So I didn't even watch the second season of Iron Fisty Face or whatever his name is, and all these other things that are happening. But Jessica Jones has always been the character and series that I've enjoyed the most out of all of them. So if there's going to be a series that I'll end the run of Netflix Marvel shows on, then I'm fine if it's Jessica Jones is the one I end on. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
Punisher,
of
are you
course.
sad, Nick?
Sorry?
Are you sad about Punisher?
I was sad about season 2. Season 1 was perfect. Season 2 is...
Have you finished it, or did you go back?
No.
Or no?
No, I haven't had the motivation to go back.
Okay. Of course, they continue to leave the door open and hint there's a possible future. I don't think it's going to happen. Just give up on your hopes, and then if it comes back, it's a nice surprise. Heard it here first. So, Chris Hemsworth and Todd Phillips are going to be teaming up to do the Hulk Hogan biopic for Netflix. I know we all cast John Cena as Hulk Hogan a couple of months ago, but yeah, this is an interesting combination of a lot of things. Todd Phillips obviously coming off the Joker movie that he's doing. Chris Hemsworth, he kind of looks like Hulk Hogan in his prime. It'd be interesting to whether they put like a bald patch on his head or something. But
do we want this movie though? Is this the thing?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on what tone they go for. Is it going to be a serious biopic where it sounds like he's going to be up and coming before he gets into the WWE? WWE isn't attached as they are with the Page movie that's coming out, Fighting With My Family, so I don't know if they'll be able to use all the WWF references or not. Apparently, Eric Bischoff, who was with WCW, The Opposition, is on board as producer. It's just weird. Are they going to get other wrestlers? People going to be cast as other wrestlers? It'll be interesting.
And well, the casting's weird to me, but also I just don't think Hulk Hogan's stature is where it was obviously years ago. He's not as loved, obviously, and that's why I'm like, do people, when this movie comes out, of course people will watch it, but at the same time, it's like he's sunk obviously in where he stands for a lot of people these days. So I don't know. It's like you could have done this years ago before his whole
sex
thing,
tape,
before all of that. Well, not even that. The racist stuff and whatever else happened.
Well, that was part of the.
I was like, oh yeah, that was in it, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. If you'd done it before that, I feel like this would have been bigger and had much more interest and love for the idea. But now post that world, a lot of people are just like Hulk Hogan. I feel like that's the general consensus on him these days.
Yeah.
I mean, John Cena's running around. Everyone's like, can't we have more lovable wrestlers these days? Hulk Hogan's old news. John Cena's lovable wrestlers. You got The Rock fucking running around. No one, everyone's like, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, these old wrestlers, they're fucking horrible. Get them out of here.
So they've finally got a director for the Your Name remake. It's going to be the director of 500 Days of Summer and The Amazing Spider-Man, Mark Webb. It's being penned by the Oscar-nominated writer of Arrival, Eric Hesserer. It is going to be Americanized, whereas it was sort of ancient Japanese culture. It's going to be more Native American focused, which I guess is sort of, having seen the film, that makes sense.
I don't like it.
You don't like it at all?
No, why do you need to change it? Why do you need to change it? Explain to me why you need to change it. Why? Do you think...
Because it's made by an American audience. I mean, it's just being...
Well, they're still going to cast fucking Scarlett Johansson as a native Indian lady. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't think they'll go that far.
Native American lady, so, it's fine. Scarlett Johansson's...
I know. Why did they move The Departed to Boston? Why do they have to cast all white people? Why didn't Mark Scorsese go back to Tokyo and shoot over there?
Fair point.
I feel like that was a... I don't look at The Departed as a remake. I look at it as a based upon my twist on the story.
Yeah, this is based upon
what this is.
Yeah,
no, this is a remake, isn't it? It's called It's called Your Name.
Yeah, it does have
and
remake.
It's a remake of the movie, whereas The Departed is based on the Infernal Affairs movies, and it's Scorsese's basing it on those films and taking his own twist on it, and he's called it The Departed, and he's made it something that is his own, and it's its own thing. I do feel like calling it Your Name...
Isn't that the same thing? It's just using the same name.
Yeah, but I can't, like, I feel like if you're going to do something different...
How many people are going on Twitter complaining about the new Lion King, which is a shot-for-shot remake of the animated thing, and saying, why are they even bothering making it? I mean, it's the same sort of thing.
Because Lion King's a classic and we'll watch it every year.
You can't put a slight different twist on it and then everybody's going to complain.
I just feel like sticking the name on it and just doing the usual thing. And to me, it is that thing, of course, I do have like a little bit of a... like when it comes to American remakes, because a lot of the times I'm just like, they're either shit.
They have a bad track record.
They have a very bad track record. Exactly right. So when I read this stuff, I may overact a little bit more, but I do feel like it's warranted given the track record isn't exactly.
But Dylan, we've just come out. Alita Battle Angel, solid. Speed Racer is a classic. I mean, there've been ones that have been done well. I mean.
I know, but they were at least based on, like, they hadn't been turned into a movie already, so I can't, like, go, well, why the fuck even bother? Because, like, I've seen Your Name, and as much as I don't think it's, like, 10 out of 10 as a lot of people think it is, I do think it's a great movie, not
it is
10 out of 10, but it's fine. We'll agree to disagree. I'm not saying it's fine.
No, that's fine.
But the thing is, I just can't picture this movie and its subject matter being told... Like, I'm like, why move? Anyway, you like it more than me. Why am I arguing more about it?
No, I definitely think this is a cool move. Obviously, Mark Weld has a history with romantic things, although he hasn't done anything stellar since 500 Days of Summer, someone
He's
argue.
also got a history with manic pixie girls, and do you really want the love story to be told in that fashion?
I wouldn't think of the female lead as a manic pixie girl.
No, but he could change, you know what I'm saying?
Well, he could change a lot of things, but
I mean,
apparently, apparently the studio is teaming up with the original studio who made Your Name is teaming up with Paramount and Bad Robot to produce it. So, J.J. Abrams is on board as producer. So, I think there's enough.
Oh God, it's a Cloverfield tie-in.
What if that's the? No,
that's what causes the spoilers, but that's what causes the thing in Your Name. If you've seen Your Name, the thing that happens is part of the monster from Cloverfield. It causes that. I might watch Your Name again soon now that we've talked about it so much. I'm like, maybe I feel like rewatching this movie.
I might have to watch that again. And then final story, we've got a release date for Space Jam 2. It's coming out 16th of July, 2021. Produced by Ryan Coogler and directed by Terrence Nance. LeBron James is still attached.
Yep.
I think it's going to flop.
Just an important update for everybody.
This is going to flop massively, and the only people who are going to watch it are people around our-ish age or whatever, but even then, I don't feel like the audience is going to be that big from that, because a lot of people like me and Nick and whoever, you know, our reactions are straight like, no. And I enjoyed the first one, younger, obviously. It was a lot of fun. But this just feels like about 20 years too late kind of thing, you know? And even then, I'm like, LeBron James is nowhere near the same as Mike. Like, it's not the same stature or anything.
What?
Really?
Well, I guess.
No, I don't think it is at
Michael
all.
was kind of beloved, or at least... Yeah. He was undisputed as the best player in the competition.
I fucking had a VHS where he was teaching me to throw hoops as a kid. You know, he was a star.
I'm sure there's LeBron James videos.
LeBron James is a joke, all right? LeBron James is a fucking joke. Get out of here.
LeBron James is definitely a very good athlete, and you can argue it made for the level of he's on, but as opposed to mass market appeal and a household name, I don't think he's anywhere near as the levels Michael Jordan was on.
Yeah. And I don't think the Looney Tunes carry as much weight either.
No, that's
in Australia,
probably lower.
Yeah. Everyone knew who Michael Jordan was. You'd lucky to find 2 out of 10 people, I reckon, that would know who LeBron James is.
Really? Well, I guess basketball's not as big a thing anymore.
There was even that fucking movie, Like
Basketball
Mike.
was big because of Michael Jordan and the Bulls and all that.
Yeah, remember that movie Like Mike? With the Stuart Little kid and all that
Little Bow
Wow
Wow
and stuff in it. Yeah, it's like there's so many stuff as kid, like references to him, and like he was huge, you know? He was a star. I do not feel like LeBron James is the same. Great athlete, sure, whatever. I just don't feel like he carries the same sort of, as Nick was saying, he's just nowhere near the sort of star power to me as he was. So
yeah,
I don't think Looney Tunes are either. So
Yeah.
I'm lining them both up and going, do either of these things really? Because when you look at the original film, it's like fucking massive thing here, massive thing here. Let's mash them together. Crossover you didn't think would work, but it does. And then it was really popular and great success and stuff. And these days I'm like, are these things going to work? Yeah. Like, you know, kids running around playing fucking Fortnite and shit these days. Like, is this what's going to, is it going to work?
I know. You could just give it a revitalization, you know, like nostalgia. Like the Muppets with Jason Segel.
Well, the sequel didn't even work well. It
didn't bring him back to the forefront of pop culture, but it boosted them. I want to pitch an idea that I've just read. I think in the second movie they have to get another basketball player, but they're trying to get Michael Jordan again. And because Ryan Coogler is attached, they accidentally kidnap Michael B. Jordan instead.
It's a decent joke. I don't know if it plays well with the kids.
Do they get Newman and Bill Murray back?
Yes, Bill Murray is a necessity if you make Space Jam without Bill Murray.
I think an interesting spin they could have done is a different sport.
Well, yeah.
What do you call it then?
I don't know.
There's no jam in anything except basketball.
Space
except
Wham.
Why does it have to be Space Jam?
Space Smash, Space Whack, Space Hoop, Crap, Space
Tap Out.
Stop trying to make sports references.
And we have Chuck Liddell, and we have Conor McGregor in it.
That would be interesting, a UFC based.
That's
Conor McGregor's a bigger name than LeBron James is.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's true.
As in, not as physical.
We're not rating their professional. We're just rating their pop culture stardom level.
You have to put this out on Twitter to see
how much they carry. I agree. Conor McGregor is way more popular. Would be a way bigger name, star power.
Because the simple fact is UFC is more worldwide.
Popular sport. It's the most popular sport these days. Yeah, full stop, isn't it? Like, isn't that proven? Really? UFC is the most popular thing, really?
I don't know. Yeah. It's a tough one.
Also, right. Can I insert one news story here that made me laugh?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Because it goes off the top of my head. I just thought of it and made me laugh. Because sometimes I see news stories, and of course this happens quite often, where you're like, why the fuck are they even writing about this? It's ridiculous. So who does anyone watch that Jablinski's Games, Jack Black's YouTube channel?
I love it.
It's fucking amazing, and that's a whole thing we should have talked about, because it is what you want to watch. Because it's
I like how they got Ninja from Die
Out Wood on there. Yeah, it's right. If you're not watching Jack Black's YouTube channel, Jablinski Games, you're missing out, because it's currently one of my most whenever it comes out, I'm watching that shit straight away. It comes out.
Next episode, we're talking about it in watch history.
Log it on Trakt.
This is tight, because in the latest episode, he's in his thing. He's getting ready to film Jumanji. He's like doing training for it, and at the start, he's like, "I'm getting ready to film Jumanji 4." He's like, "Yeah, that's right, 4." Because if you remember, there was the third one that Jon Favreau did, The Thura.
John in space.
And I was like, yes, he is true. That is true. Technically, people do forget that was kind of a Jumanji spin-off weird thing. Anyway, I this morning or late last night, I saw a news headline that was like, Jack Black confirms that Zathura is part of the Jumanji universe. I'm like, oh my God. Please don't. It's just a funny thing from his fucking... I'm like, anyway, that was just one of those things where
that's important information that everybody
that's how you blacklist. That's writing those types of headlines is how you get blacklisted on my fucking Twitter for shit.
There's no different than the people that extrapolate on what fucking Kevin Smith says in a podcast or something like that.
Yeah, Kevin Smith says this is a whole fucking... Yeah, I know. I was like, really? Is this the headline I'm reading right now? Anyway, yeah, highly suggest. We'll talk about it next episode, but Jablinski Games.
All right. Nick, you're going to go before we talk about Bohemian Rhapsody?
I don't want spoilers. I haven't watched it yet.
Yep. So where can people find you on the internet if they want to message you about...
You can find me on Trakt at Lord Empire and at our Discord, which you'll get later on in the episode.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So Dylan, what did we end up watching this week?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
No one will play us on the radio.
We need to get experimental.
Thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me.
Do it again.
One more. How many more Galileos do you want?
Roger, there's only room in this band for one hysterical queen.
Let me go, don't let you go.
Mark these words. No one will play Queen.
Fortune favours the bold.
Freddie, concerning your private life.
What more do you need to know?
Yes, Bohemian Rhapsody, the story of the legendary rock band Queen and lead singer Freddie Mercury leading up to their famous performance at Live Aid 1985, directed by Bryan Singer before he was fired and replaced by Dexter Fletcher?
Yeah.
I believe is the correct name. Starring Rami Malek and a bunch of not as well-known actors. Except maybe Aidan Gillen. I think
I'm a Lucy Boynton fan, I'll have you know.
Are you?
Yes.
I apologize.
Take these words back, sir. She was in, she stood out to me from Sing Street, because I love that movie, Sing Street, and I've had my eyes out for her since then. And then even when Apostle came out, which she was in earlier in the year, that Netflix film that I'm a fan of, I remember even watching the trailer for that. I'm like, oh, it's Sing Street Girl. So now when she popped up in this again, I'm like, oh, it's Sing Street Girl, but I know her name now.
No, I just didn't recognize her for a minute.
Yeah.
She looks very different. Yeah, so this won 4 Academy Awards. It's been watched. It's the highest grossing biopic, I believe, ever. And the 6th highest grossing film of 2018. Raking in $861 million worldwide. What did you think, Dylan? Are you a Queen fan?
I mean, isn't everyone a Queen fan? I don't know. Like, I'm no super fan. I like their music.
Likes the music. I don't think you'd... There's a difference between liking something and probably being diehard.
Yeah, I like their music. I'm not...
Do you have a knowledge of the Freddie Mercury story prior to this?
The basic outline, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The basic story, which I don't feel like this film told me anything particularly new that I didn't know. No. So, yeah.
All right. So, what do you think of the film?
It's okay, I guess. It's very bland, I guess, at a lot of points. And my problem is, and this is kind of known. I remember years and years and years ago, I was getting excited about a Freddie Mercury movie that was going to be done by Sacha Cohen. And that one sounded more exciting. And the reason that one apparently didn't happen is because he wanted to tell a more open, deep dive into Freddie Mercury and tell like his true story, I guess, into him as a person, less so him as a performer. Whereas I feel like Bohemian Rhapsody is just basically him as a performer for 80% of the plot to a degree. Like, it doesn't really go too much into who Freddie Mercury is. And I feel like I don't feel like anyone could leave this movie going, wow, really? Like, if you know enough about Freddie Mercury, maybe if you don't know anything, I suppose. But for most people who know stuff about him, he's always been this mysterious character, whatever. And people protect his legacy, and I get that. Like, obviously the band members, the remaining members of Queen, were the ones who apparently shut down Sacha back when he was trying to do his movie and was like, no, you can't do that script. Like, that's too far. And they still are trying to protect his legacy and the character that was, I suppose. But I think that's a detriment to the movie in a way, because this, for the most part, is just a lot of performances. And here's a key moment where they made that song. Here's another moment when they made that song. Here's another moment where they made that song. Like, there's so many moments of just, you get to see them. Like, oh, we made that dun dun. Here's that line. Oh, here's that, which I'm sure for Queen fans, it's like, oh, look, here's that time they made that line or that thing happened. But that's like the majority of the movie. And then even with it ends with the Live Aid concert, which is spectacular, I'll say. Like, it's really well put together. And there's a YouTube video I watched where someone put it side by side to the actual Live Aid concert itself, and that's pretty interesting to watch as well. But I'm like, recreating a live thing like that isn't exactly, like, that shouldn't be the main part if you try and tell a biopic. That's like recreating a behind the scenes element or something. I don't know. It's fine. Rami Malek, who is now best Oscar winner, best actor. Even him, like it's fine, I guess. Like he does get the mannerisms and all these sorts of things down. But then at the same time, I find it funny because the majority of the movie, I feel like he's just, as people are making jokes, like he's just a big long TikTok because the majority of the movie, because a lot of it is concerts and singing and all this sort of stuff, which he's not actually doing. So it is a lot of just him miming and stuff. And you can argue, of course, that's like good acting to be able to pull that off at the same time. But
I mean, to be fair, like 80% of musicals, they're lip syncing when they're acting anyway. So
yeah, is
it better to have a voice that sounds like Freddie Mercury as opposed to Rami Malek's voice, or?
I guess, but I just feel like it's mind trickery because a lot of people will associate how good he performed Mercury's mannerisms as well as like how good the music and stuff in it is, like, and it just kind of in your mind without thinking about it tumbles into this one big performance. And I don't particularly think any of the more emotional scenes where he's actually just acting were particularly stand out, I guess is my thing. Like, so that's why I'm like, is it best actor? I'm not trying to say it's bad. I just, because we now know
I think it was very showy.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
It was Oscar baity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely felt like he was somebody on the spectrum, like autism spectrum, because he was super showy in certain sections, and then he's like super, super naive in other sections.
Yeah.
Which, as someone who doesn't have like a great knowledge of Freddie Mercury, like was kind of weird, I felt. Like, but yeah, I felt like it was very painted with a very broad brush. They just moved along very at a rapid pace and never really dived into anything. Like, even the band members, like, you don't know anything above the drummer likes to bang lots of women. The lead guitarist is smart and does write songs, and then the bass player is there.
Yeah, it's even like evident with the way the movie starts and everything, and it seems like the movie starts and it sets up this family dynamic and hints at more like potential reasons why he acts the way he does because of like racial reasons that he has happening in his life, I guess, is the thing. Like the way he wants to change the way he looks and his name and all these things, and they do a lot of hinting at him having a slight, I don't want to say hatred, but you know what I mean, like for his heritage, I guess, but they never like fully dive into it, explore it. It's just a constant thing that's like hinted at and whatever else. And then it's like, oh, he meets the band, and then like 10 minutes into the movie, they're on a road trip already. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, it does move very fast at times, and then at other times it seems to move very slow when it doesn't need to. I don't know if you've got anything else to say, because I'll dive into spoilers for one other problem I'd kind of have, I guess, but
not really. Again, the ending scene was pretty cool. I think we'll go into spoilers because there's a bunch of like historical misaccuracies that I want to bring up as well. So,
well, my thing, another thing I didn't like with this movie in particular is the way it handles his sexuality, which I know is something that a lot of people have talked about, but I hadn't read too much into it without having watched it. Like, I knew it was something that people talked about, but watching it, the first thing that stood out to me is how, like, when he says to his wife, and he's like, "Oh, I think I'm bisexual," her response automatically is, "No, you're gay," and that's just kind of how it goes. And then his manager or whatever it is that becomes his boyfriend that drags him through all these, Paul, yeah, he's basically this like gay devil symbol, like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, there's no good side to him. They always present him as this arsehole. Everyone in the movie hates him. And he could be an asshole and all that sort of stuff in real life, of course, and that's fine. But in this particular movie, because that character is the only one you really see close, intimately for the most part, involved with Freddie, I suppose, and like he's kind of seen as this like devil on his shoulder that swings him to get involved with gay stuff and whatever. And there's even that one scene where they're like walking through clubs, and it's all this montage of like they're showing all this imagery of like, you know, leather and people stuff. It's like, look at these gay nightclubs, look how bad it is, you know, like it just came across very it just came across very much like this is bad and this person took him to the dark side and all these sorts of things is the way it came across to me.
Yeah, they definitely painted him as the villain of the film. And it's weird that he gets rejected early on and then decides, oh, I'm going to stay on and then slowly manipulate you for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a weird thought process. Interesting that, I guess it's weird that there's so much negative towards that homosexuality, considering Bryan Singer was the director and is homosexual himself, I guess, is interesting, and you could read into that probably more than you need to.
I mean, we can read into Bryan Singer and many of his fucked up problems, but that could potentially make him make a movie the way he made it. But
yeah. So on Wikipedia, they've got a list of some of the historical misaccuracies, which I think it goes to prove the point that this is a movie, not a documentary, more than anything else. Firstly, the formation of Queen was not as simple as portrayed in the film. Mercury had known Staffel at art college and had shown an interest in joining the band prior to Staffel's departure. So, he didn't just show up at the end.
It's cooler that way, though.
Is it?
I guess, I don't know.
John Deacon was not the original bassist, but the fourth bassist. Yeah, so, I mean, doesn't make too much of a difference. The character of Ray Foster, who played by Mike Myers, I didn't realize.
Didn't you realize it was him?
No.
Oh. Well, I mean, he did have like a lot of
glasses,
stuff on, yeah.
It's hard to
It made
tell.
sense to have him in it because of the whole Wayne's World thing, I suppose.
Yeah. He's completely fictional and loosely based on EMI chief Roy Featherstone. And while Featherstone and others thought Bohemian Rhapsody was too long to be released as a single, he was a fan of the band. I like that scene, I guess. That everything sort of felt campy and stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Mercury was not the first member of Queen to release a solo album. Taylor released Fun in Space in April 1981 and Strange Frontier in June 1984. May released Starfleet Project in October 1983. Mercury's Bad Guy was released in April 1985. So pretty much the massive conflict at the end of the film.
Yeah, the massive conflict of you ditched us and did your own solo thing.
Completely fabricated. Which is proved by the further point, Queen never split up. So Live Aid was not a reunion. They released the works in early 1984 and then toured worldwide. The last show of the tour was 8 weeks before Live Aid. They also had no reservations about performing in the concert in 2 weeks' notice, as depicted in the film. So yeah, it's all based on lies.
Yeah. A lot of it is just twists and turns of the story to build up drama or whatever. But this is what I'm saying, like, they can't, they're trying to hold, I just feel like they're trying to hold so much at secret on or at far of like what the actual story is, that they're holding so much of that back that they do have to just make shit up, I guess, to make drama within the movie. Because they don't have access to the real drama. They can't tell whatever the real drama would have been. Yeah.
And then one last one. The film's treatment of Mercury's HIV diagnosis received particular criticism, with Jasper Rees describing The Spectator as the most callous rearrangement of the facts. The time at which Mercury learned he had HIV is disputed, but is usually given as between 1986 and 1987, not before Live Aid in 1985 as depicted in the film. The other band members were not made aware until 1989.
But
it feels like they were just trying to shoehorn that.
Yeah, it makes for this more dramatic ending when, like, he has the sad build-up and he sits there at the piano, and then they can end the movie with him playing that and make it out like it's the last show. Then he walks off stage.
Last time he ever played.
Yeah, he walks off stage and dies. Like, basically, is what it's basically what they kind of make it out to be. I guess, like, they make it very dramatic. That last show. It's like, there you go. It's the end of Freddie. Yeah. Bye bye.
Do you think a biopic needs to stay completely true to the facts?
I don't think it does.
Is it?
But at the same time, I feel like okay, I know this is the problem in general of making biopics if the person's still alive, because they're always going to want to keep all of their devils and stuff, or family members, or anything like that. That's always going to be a problem, and that's why a lot of this stuff happens. Like, even one of my favorite biopics of the last 10 years is Straight Outta Compton, right? that has a lot of stuff changed here and there for whatever reasons, and I knew already basically everything about that story going to that movie. So the first time watching it, I'm like, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. But it still kind of dived to a degree. They left out a lot of devils about like Dr. Dre and stuff like that. But to a degree, I still feel like that movie, if I'm comparing it to this one, did spend more time diving into the characters and like what made the group special on a bigger stage. And by that, I mean like how they delved into like, that was involved heavily in like racial tensions and all this sort of stuff. Like they had more of a proper storyline, and it wasn't just like, here's them creating those big hits, even though they have that one moment in that movie where you get to see them write "fuck the police," which is kind of their big moment. But this film just felt too reliant on moments of, here's where they created that big hit or that big song or that thing, and like it really didn't tell. I would rather watch a movie that could honestly and openly tell the story of like Freddy's life more dramatically, and then through to the end, and how he dealt with HIV, how he lived the rest of his life, like what kind of person he was going through that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's much more interesting stories about Freddie Mercury, but this isn't the interesting story. This is just telling the story and giving the people Freddie Mercury that everyone already knows. This is just the Freddie Mercury that everyone saw on stage, basically. Like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is just stuff that you would already known or would have assumed. Like it's not very open, and I think it's, you know, maybe 20, 30 years we'll get something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that now that they've got this fluff piece out that portrays them in the best possible light, down the road somebody else can go in and do the hardcore in-depth look at Freddie Mercury without the other members of Queen protecting or safeguarding their story.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, like, I understand like trying to protect someone's legacy and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But then it's to me, it's like, if you can't do the movie like that, just don't do the movie at all, really, in my mind. You know? Like, this movie was fine to watch. It made me want to listen to Queen music. Does it offer such a big open look at Freddie Mercury that I think it's what, like, you know, I could have done without it. I don't feel like it was, you know, you just watch their fucking live concerts and stuff like that, you probably get the same feeling to a degree, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah. Again, this made me, like I said earlier in the show, maybe we'll want to look up probably a documentary or something a bit more in depth.
Yeah.
Factual.
Yeah.
All right, that's been this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? Dylan, where can people find you on Twitter and Trakt?
All those things. Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. We will rock you.
Yeah. You can find me at those places at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. And as Nick said earlier in the show, you can find him at Lord N. Pryor, PRIOR. You can follow the Explosion Network, which is as part of at Explosion Pod. Check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Explosion Network, or on YouTube at youtube.com/Explosion Network, where you'll find our Alita Battle Angel spoiler review at some point, hopefully. Or you can go over to explosionnetwork.com, where you can check out all our podcasts, all our articles, all our reviews of different stuff. Check out our Discord at discord.com/Explosion Network, where we'll occasionally talk about stuff about the movies and media and occasionally live theater. If you've got any questions, send us an email at mail@explosionnetwork.com. And of course, if you really want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a Podchaser, or just tell a friend in the middle of a song. Just replace words in a song with Explosion Network. That'd be pretty cool. Let us know how.
We are the Explosion Network. We are...
Terrible. All right, until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.